Hello and welcome to the magic of fishing. Today you join me for something a little bit special, certainly in terms of the date and the location. It's the 16th of June, the glorious 16th, the opening day of the coarse fishing season on the UK's rivers, and I've come to somewhere really quite special for the first time. I'm on the UK's longest river, the Severn, and it's the first time I've ever fished it. Hard to believe, but true. And I've come to somewhere that I've read about as a young kid growing up in Sheffield in the Angling Times and Anglers Mail. Dreamed of fishing it, and now I get to do it. It's called Hampton Loade, and it's a famous stretch, sometimes known as Barbel Alley. It's run by Birmingham Anglers Association, or BAA, and that's a really good value club that I joined up this year, particularly with the idea of trying the Severn for the first time. I got here in the dark and I've been tackling up as first light has crept into the sky, and now I get to see whether I can connect with one of the famous barbel or chub that call this beautiful river home. And this is my kind of river. It's big, it's fast flowing, reminds me of a little bit of the Wye. I'm in a beautiful little valley filled with sheep, and the old railway track, quite often featuring steam trains, runs parallel with the river behind me. There's a little station at Hampton Loade, and I'm staying at the Unicorn Inn, just a few minutes walk up the road from here. And just the sound of the water as it shallows up and runs over some rocks a bit further down. It's so peaceful. There are anglers a little way upstream from me, and one chap's just setting up downstream from me, so I'm keeping my voice down. But it's so quiet. There's no planes going overhead. There's no traffic. Just bird calls and the sheep. Some cows opposite as well. Of course, it remains to be seen whether the fishing's going to live up to the reputation of this river and this stretch in particular. But to be honest, it's just glorious to be back on running water, on a natural venue where you've got no idea what's in front of you, what's just downstream. I do intend to explore. I've got 2 or 3 days here. That could have been a little pull. Got several days here, and I intend to get to know the river a little bit. I've had a chat with a few of the anglers that started gathering here yesterday on the 15th. A couple of nice brummies, and they were telling me it can be quite tricky and quite peggy early on in the season, which is just like a lot of rivers. The barbel and the chub have been spawning. A few of them may still be in the last throes of spawning, and they may have the preferred areas. The river's got a little bit of colour in it, which is really nice to see. I had a good look round yesterday, and it's just coming down in terms of the level. We've had some rain this spring and into the early summer. It's brilliant to see our rivers looking a lot healthier than they were last summer, when they were already painfully low and clear. I've missed one definite chub rattle at first light, but I've not had any definite indication since then, so I'll give it a good hour or two in this spot. But I do think it'll be a case of trying to find the fish, as well as reintroducing them to angler's bait. Of course, they've been living off naturals for 3 months now. So we'll give this first spot a good hour or two. And if I'm not really seeing much action, then I think I'll try further on downstream. Just seen a fellow angler walk down the far bank. We're like kids in a sweet shop at this time of year. There's a lovely sky downstream as the sun starts to rise. I'm sat just downstream of this nice overhanging willow, and it's electrifying to watch that quiver tip and the line thrumming against the powerful current out there. Just waiting to hopefully connect with first river fishing of the season. We've got crows, wood pigeons, the sheep, as well as the sound of the river. It's magic. As much as I've loved the closed season this year, and I have visited some really attractive still waters and caught some nice fish from gravel pits and small ponds, I've savoured the anticipation of the 16th, like all keen river anglers. It's just fantastic to be back on a big wild river like the Severn. Hard to believe I've never fished it before, but I just never lived in this part of the world. It's about 3 hours drive from home, this, so it's about the same as the Trent or the Wye for me, but it's got that same peace that I found on the Wye in the last couple of years. You're just miles from any kind of human noise, and I'm loving every minute. If we can add a few fish, as always, there'll be a bonus. And the way I'm hoping to catch them is pellet, lots of mixed pellet, mixed in terms of size and flavour. So there's everything from halibuts to spicy sausage, robin reds, and everything from micros through to about 8mm. And I'll be putting them in a one-ended feeder, plugging the end with smelly ground bait. I've got some Fuka, quite garlicky, sticky, really sticky, heavy ground bait that works for these fast flowing rivers, doesn't come out the feeder straight away. I've put some hemp in that, and I'll be casting about every 10 or 15 minutes. I want to get some feed out there and get that scent trail going from the pellet, but equally I want to remember that they're not used to our bait and our feed. They may be hungry after spawning, but they're not used to being bombarded with lots and lots of food. So I'm going to keep the feed little and often using the feeder, recast about every 10 or 15 minutes. A lot of anglers fish 2 rods on the Severn, but I thought of my first visit, I'm going to keep things simple, just go with a 1 rod. I'm casting out to mid-river, trying to find the deeper water, and I'm glad that I did bring that in because the bait's on, but there's a little bit of a tangle. So a quick scoop of the pellet, plug the end nice and firm with that hempy ground bait. And I want to try and keep the cast as accurate as possible. Spot on that. Let out a bit of a bow, a bit of slack line after the cast, just to take the direct pressure off that feeder. It's a 3-ounce quorum feeder, and we're fishing again just after 5. Got up at 2:30 in the morning, was down in the car park at 3 and made my first cast at 4. So we've been going an hour or so with just one quick chub pull to show for it. I'll probably give it another hour and a half. Got this baby willow just to my right, and in the distance you can see the first rays of the morning sun starting to light the trees on the right hand bank. I hope any of you watching have had a good start on the rivers. For those of you who are fishing them, and for any of you who can't or haven't made it yet, as always, you're welcome on my trips. Well, it always pays to get local advice if you can get it. And I've just been down to chat to a lovely bloke downstream of me, who's just lost a fish. First fish I've seen. Or first action I've seen, and I went down to have a quick chat with him. And I've been chucking to the middle of the river. He said, I want to be right across on this swim. Might need some more lead on. Got 3 ounce on at the moment. I might need to go up to 4 because there's some real pace on the river. He said this is going through really quite fast, but he said there's some depth right over, almost opposite the cow, or in front of the cow should I say. He's also given me a handful of maggots because he'd had nothing on meat or pellet for the first half hour or so, and he just had a bite and a fish on a bunch of maggots. Again, they have been feeding on naturals for the last 3 months, nothing else. Still only coming up to 6 in the morning. But it almost feels like a fresh start now. I've had that advice about fishing the deeper water further over. And that is the first sight of the sun through the willow. I it's not a biggie, but I think we have our first fish. Just switched to a smaller hook of 14, bunch of red maggots, and a few nice rattles. Don't think it's a barbel or a chub. It's a little Severn stripy. We're off the mark. Tell you what folks, that's a small fish but a big smile. My first fish, the 2026-27 river season, and my first Severn fish to boot. He's gone back and we're back fishing, and I've just had another useful, interesting chat with the chap just downstream of me who's actually going to make a move, and I think I might be following him if we don't get any more signs in the next half hour. He said normally this little short stretch run above the rapids is very productive. He said usually plenty of chub and some good barbel, and he's only managed to hook and lose that one fish. I've just had that perch, but it does sound like if the fish are here you'll know about it. He said normally you can see them rolling, jumping, and he's very surprised with the river looking the way it is that we've both been struggling so far. I mean, it's still only early, the sun is just getting above this willow on my left. But you've got to take local advice, and he was surprised that neither of us have been into any barbel or chub yet. I think I'll give it another half hour and follow suit, move on downstream if I don't get any more. Well, I've made my way a little further downstream and things couldn't feel much different. I can't believe it's only 8:15, but it already feels hot, that sun, and it is getting higher. The river looks really different with the sun on it, glistening off the ripples, and this spot is the deepest part of the river I've seen. There's a real smooth, slow feel about it compared to the rapids area just a bit further upstream, and I fancy it for a couple of reasons. First, it is just different to where I've been fishing, and although you might expect the barbel and the chub to be in the faster flowing water at this time of the year, the early summer, they obviously weren't where I was fishing and where that other chap was fishing, so I wanted to try somewhere a bit different. Secondly, the main flow, even though it is a slower flow, seems to be on this bank, just a quarter of the way out. You can see the bubble line coming past, a nice slack on the inside, so that feels like it's worth a go. And with that sun getting higher, I think the deeper water is where I'd want to be rather than the shallows. So let's give it a go. And we've got a fish. Only fishing double maggot, and it doesn't feel like a big one again, but nice to get a bit of action, especially with the sun feeling so hot. Chublet, is it? Let's slacken off a bit. Yeah, little chub. Bit of a big net for him, but he's in. Well, that's a bit more like it, isn't it, folks? Only a small one, but my first Severn chub. And we've had to scale down to double maggot to get him, but pull the tip round. And what's encouraging to me is we've only been fishing in this spot for maybe half an hour. And that fish has obviously taken a while to come to it, but he's found that feed and he's started getting some of it down him. So where there's one, we'll hopefully find a few more. Just lovely to see that tip bounce over. And when you're fishing a completely new river like this, and a big river at that, you just need those first few winds, whether it's indications or fish in the net, to get your confidence going and keep you focused. And we're in again, very next cast, as if to prove my point about these fish just needing a bit of time to find that feed. And this feels a tiny bit better. Could be another chub right down in front of me now. He scared the ducks off. Another modest fish, but 2 chub in 2 chucks, I will take that. Another lovely little Severn chub. 2 in 2 casts. Things are looking up. We'll keep that pellet feed going in. I can try that on the hook in a while. But for now, I'm happy to stick with the maggots on the hook. Feels like a really nice clean bottom down there. And there's some proper flow, it's just much slower than the shallower section up above. Little drop back bite there. Missed it, and he's had my maggots. I think what's really encouraging is that the bites are starting to string together. A couple of fish in 2 casts and another missed bite there. And not only that, but these bites are picking up with this bright sunshine. So I think that depth of water is perhaps proving a sensible move. Oh, that didn't take long at all. And it's only a small fish, but this is what I would expect. Start feeding a swim up little and often, and the fish will find it, start competing. Lovely little roach, that's another species. Back he goes. And of course we can, as I say, switch to the pellet. Change hook lengths again if small fish become a problem. And we are in again on the maggot. I nearly pulled the rod in that one, but it's no barbel. It's great to be getting some action. Ha! An eel! Another species. Only a small one. Well, there's going to be no catch shot with an eel, I can tell you. Straight back with him. And so far, Barbel Alley is more like chub, perch, roach and eel alley, but I'm not complaining. Actually, it's a nice roach. Nice. Well, he's a good £1/2 pound plus, and I was told there was some good roach in this stretch. Still not found the barbel, but I'm happy. You just cannot beat a summer's day by the river. Well folks, as you might be able to tell, I am now downstream from that shingle beach where the cows were having a paddle, and I've come down to a third and possibly final peg for the day, and this just feels right again. Fast moving water, boiling over the rocky bottom. It just feels a bit more like the Severn I went to sleep dreaming about. Switched up to a 4-ounce feeder again because it does look like it's got some pace. The fish just over halfway. Got a big bow out, and there's going to be some serious pressure on the line again, unlike the last swim. It does feel like I'm back fishing a proper river. Fish first cast, and it's the humble gudgeon. That really is adding to a mixed species day. We've had the roach, chub, perch, eel, gudgeon. That's at least 5 anyway. Just need a barbel now. It's another small fish we're into. Oh boy, it's a dace. We have another species. This is incredible. What a start to the river season. Go and tell your friends the barbel. Well, that is 3 casts, 3 bites and 3 fish, and this doesn't feel like a barbel, but it's definitely a better stamp of fish to the dace and the gudgeon. And I reckon I've landed in a decent swim here. It looked right with that extra flow. Oh my god, it's a barbel. It's a baby barbel. I've literally just wished for one and away it's gone. Incredible. He's a baby, but that is brilliant. Well folks, he may be under £1 pound, well under £1 pound, but this baby barbel is my first of the new season, and I've managed at least one on opening day. What a multi-species hunt it's turning out to be. Let's give him a rest in the net and let him go. That's really good sign of a river on the up. In fact, I think that deserves a little celebration. A little bit mashed up on the way here, but a bit of cake from Rachel. Now it's a proper June the 16th. 3 fish in 3 casts. Can we find anything a bit bigger from this very generous swim so far? And it's hard to believe, but it's been a bite and a fish every cast so far in this new swim. Always worth a move if things are slow. You know, I have to remind myself of that sometimes, but all the best anglers I've fished with over the last few years, they're all about finding the fish, not just sitting it out. Although I do love to build a swim, you know, match style. When you're fishing for better fish like chub and barbel, if they're not there, you got to go looking for them. I thought it was going to be another small barbel, but that's a nice chub. As I said at the start of the day, you just don't know what to expect when you're fishing a river. We've had all sorts, and that's a nice chub. We've got him. Well, that is a really long and lean chub. Mint condition though. They tend to be this way at this time of year, often spawned out, whether they're the cockfish or the females. They put all their effort and energy into making the next generation, but in this powerful current he gave a really good account of himself, and that is the first proper fish of the day. I think it's safe to say he's ready to go back. Lovely fish. Off he goes. It's incredible how the fish feel at home in this kind of water. You know, if you're used to fishing slower rivers and canals, you look at something like this, as I used to do a few years ago, really, before I'd fished the Trent at Collingham, the tidal stretch, or the Wye. And you know, you don't naturally think that that's where the fish are going to be, out in that main flow, water piling through. But we've just shown the chub, gudgeon, dace, and indeed the small barbel. They're all happy out there and they're coming to the feed, and they want that oxygenated water. Smallest chub of the day, but they are all welcome. It's approaching mid-afternoon now, and despite the fact it's clouding over, as promised, the bites have really died off. It's given me lots to think about this first day of my mini Severn adventure. I'd say the fish want natural baits, they're not switched on to the pellet yet. And I have got plenty of hemp and castor with me back at the ranch. So I can see tomorrow being a bit of a different day, maybe a block end feeder with hemp and castor, a bunch of castors on the hook. And it'd be nice to try 1 or 2 different swims as well, although this one has been good to me. So I know I've got a bit of a banker if I'm struggling elsewhere. And I've also not had a chance to test a moving bait as well. It could be worth having a go on the rolling meat, or try and get the float going with the hemp and castor. Not necessarily for the barbel, but any of the many species I've enjoyed today. A good roach, chub. I think it's going to be a bit more overcast tomorrow as well, a bit more rain in the morning. I'll perhaps have a bit of a later start. We'll see how busy the river is or not, and perhaps drop in a few new swims. Might end up on the feeder again, but I can see myself giving the float a go. Maybe rolling meat, as I say. But I've really enjoyed this first day, and it's just been so peaceful. Really has done me good. Not working at the moment, so how to switch off from the phone, not be constantly checking emails, just to be able to fish midweek, get down here for the opening day. It's been a real pleasure. And a lovely little chublet to finish with. So much variety today. I'm happy to call that a day. And despite the fact the bigger barbel didn't come out to play, it's definitely been my kind of dream opening day. A glorious 16th of June. So much variety, a beautiful river that I've been exploring for the first time, and one or two nice fish as well. I've managed 7 species from the River Severn, and that's put me in 7th heaven. I hope you've enjoyed it just as much as I have, and I must say a really heartfelt thank you to all you regulars who leave me comments week in, week out. It's hugely appreciated, because I know it takes a bit of time and they really do mean a lot. So thanks again. If you want to find out what happens on the rest of this little adventure, you'll have to tune in again next week. Until then, you stay safe, and I'll see you again soon on the bank.